Right then, few things that I tried to do in my live build that didn't quite work out. I'm just gonna show you what I was doing wrong. First off, if you remember, we were trying to put the SSD into here. This is the cage that I took off, and I was trying to mount, for some reason I was trying to mount the SSD on the inside. Of course it goes on the outside, so I've taken the cage off and out of the 3.5 inch drive bay, and we're just going to put the SSD in the right place. You can see that on the camera. Let me just get a better screwdriver. Just goes to prove that it's worthwhile having a look in the manual when you don't know what you're doing, like I don't. Because yeah, the instructions in the Fractal design manual work pretty straightforward if I bother to look at them from the start. So yeah, let's just take this drive out of the 3.5 cage, because we don't really want that, and we've actually got 3 physical drives, hard drives that we're going to put in this machine, so I need all the cage space that I've got. One of the nice things about the Define R5 hard drive cages is that there's a lot of options. So I've taken out the there's one bay for 3 drives, one bay for 4 drives. I've taken out the 4 drive bay and just left the 3 drive one in. Yeah, you can get 7 drives in, and that's not including the optical bays as well. Let's just put these in right this time, and I can put the SSD on there. I've not really done anything else since I was doing my live videos. I've basically just been spending a little bit of time trying to tidy up the cabling somewhat, which is always the worst part of doing a PC build. The Define R5 has actually got a lot of space behind the motherboard tray, which is quite good, because it does allow you to kind of just have a little bit of a haphazard cable arrangement. And the problem is as well, of course, is unless you're custom, oops, that's not in there square, unless you're custom making your cables, they're either too short or too long. So in my case, a lot of the power cables, the big thick ones here, they're actually to be honest, they're a little bit of a pain, because they are just a little bit too long, and it's only a little bit, so it doesn't mean you can kind of make a loop or anything, because actually the cables are quite tough, so they don't flex very well. So yeah, this is how this is supposed to go on properly, like this. So let's just put that in there. Stand up. That hooks in, those hooks hook in on either side there, and then thumb screw just screws in and get it to catch. And that's really nice, so that keeps that out of the way and leaves me with 3 bays here. Let's put my drives in. Let's just spin everything back around. So yeah, let me just zoom in slightly. I've tried to tidy up some of the cabling around here. This is all tucked back through now. This USB 3 header is this cable is really stiff, so it's a little bit in the way, but these are the small ones for the front panel, and for the USB 2, and for the front panel audio are actually quite flexible, so they can tuck away really nicely. And I've connected my chassis fans to 2 at the front. There's one connected there, and there's one connected there. And obviously we've got the power in. We've got the power in at the top, and I've plugged this into the CPU header there, fan header there. And actually what I did last night was I took this fan out and wrapped the cable a little bit around it so that it came out a better way, and then connected that to that fan header there, so there's not so much cable hanging about, which is quite good. I've got to run some more power because I need SATA power and power for the graphics card. So where are we? Let's have a look. So these are the SATA ones. And they've got power for 4 SATA devices on, so that's quite good. I'm going to have to use up one of these solely for the hard drive, for the SSD, and then I'm going to need that's my PCI one, and I'm going to need another one for the 3 cage because I don't think it's going to reach properly. It might do, but I doubt it. So yeah, these are both the same size from both these cables are the same size from the Corsair power supply. Let me just tip this up and say hi. Excuse the light, I'm afraid it's a bit iffy. So yeah, we need these two for the SATA. And actually, let's just tip this down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. This is still very much kind of live, ad hoc thing. Let's zoom in a little bit. And somewhere I have got my light. So there you can see, so we've got quite a lot of spare power slots. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and organise these so that they're as out of the way as possible. So basically I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now these are peripheral and SATA. These are all 6-pin, right? And the GPU is 6 or 8, I think. Let's have a look. 6 plus 2 PCIe, so they need to go up there. So the graphics card ones need to go over there. So I could put the SATA ones in here, right at the bottom, keep them out of the way. So one in there. Okay, and another one there. And I will just feed these back through, and so they're ready when I need them. This particular management grommet is large enough for most stuff, so that's good. One thing I did find was that I had a real problem. Whoops, hopefully I'm not putting cables out. I did have a problem with the 12-pin power cable, and I actually had to thread it through from this side through the grommet at the top because the connector was too wide for it. So that was just a thing I had to end up having to do. It wasn't a problem then. Everything fitted fine. I spent ages trying to get the 12-pin power connector through the wrong way, really. Let's just tuck this through if we can. Okay, let's tangle up around the back here. I want this bottom of the way. Last set of power through. I'm not taking all the other cables through, so that's that. So we'll have those for later. And then, last but not least, the power for the GPU. Now this needs to go in a specific spot on the power supply, because it's actually an 8-pin. Sorry, it's actually an 8-pin connector. So that needs to go here, where we've got PCIe 8. So that needs to go in at the top there. Okay. And there's one more cable, and then basically you've got a multitude of connectors on the end. Depending on your graphics card, you might need 2 8, 2 6, an 8 and 6. I'm not sure what's on mine. I will have to have a look. But we're just going to fold that up for the time being and put that in there. So you've got all the power in. It's all starting to come together. Right, I'm going to pause for a bit, and I'll come back with some more in a minute. Okay, next thing I'm doing is 3.5-inch hard drives. The Define R5 has got a really nice set of drive cages that I was talking about before. You've got the 3 down here, and you can also have another 4 up here, and actually the optical drives at the top. I've taken all of those out because I only need these 3 drive bays. The mounts are really, really cool. They've got a lot of nice features. Hopefully you can see the mount here, and if I just lift it up, there's lots of different arrangements for holes for attaching your hard drives. The one nice thing about this as well is you can have the hard drive. Let me just grab a drive. You can have the hard drive either at the back like that, or slightly further forward. So if you've got a kind of mess of cables at the back, it gives you more room between the side panel and the drive. It's really cool. So let's just turn this over, and we want this as far back as possible. So there. Okay, so the Define R5 comes with these rubber grommets for the 3.5-inch drives, which I've just dropped. And you put the grommets in, and they just tuck in the little hole like that. And so you put all 4 in, and then they're a little bit, so hopefully this should deaden a little bit of the vibration noise, which you tend to get with physical hard drives. Put on there, and then hard drive on, turn everything over. There we go. Yeah, there we go. And then just the screws that come with the kit. Let's go in. I'll just hand tighten the copper first. I hope you can see that in the top right. So yeah, I'm finding a lot of really nice features in the Define R5. This is the first time I've used a Define case. I've actually used a Fractal Design case before. It's one of their core cases, which are really good value cases. And I've used one of those before for a little server that I built, and it's definitely, you can definitely tell the difference in the kind of quality, excuse the screwdriver there, between the Define series and the core series, which is pretty nice. So yeah, and then hard drive slots in there like that, nice clips. That's all you need to do. And fair enough, it's not toolless, but actually personally I prefer this kind of arrangement to the kind of toolless plastic ones. In my Corsair case, they have the plastic drive trays, and I've broken several of them. I'm not going to be able to get that out, it's got a cable jammed underneath it. So yeah, we'll do the same with this one. As you saw from the live video as well, these trays do take a 2.5-inch drive as well if you want them to. They're the mounting points there and there for 2.5-inch drive, so they're kind of totally multi-purpose, which is nice. So let's just put these in. Put the hard drive on. That's the right way around, yep. And we'll just screw these in. So yeah, I'm really finding this case very good. I must say as well, the thing I like about it most is the space at the back to cover up the mess of cables. It is really quite roomy, and the little central bar, which is tucked back here, and this comes back into the case slightly to give you more room behind it, is really fantastic for attaching all your big cables to. Only cable routing problem I've had so far is one of my front chassis fans does not have quite a long enough cable really for me to tidy it away properly. But that's cool. So there we go. I've got my 3 hard drives in there. These two are 10,000 RPM Velociraptors, and I make them into a stripe to give me a gig super fast access hard drive there. And then this is just my 3 terabyte backup drive. They're labelled. I'm nerdy like that. Never mind. Let's just have a look in the back of the case again. Take the side off. Just put the side back on to make sure it fitted. I really should not be inside doing this today because it's a lovely day in the UK. But never mind. So, yeah, hopefully you can see that okay. Obviously, you've got loads of room here for your cabling. Let's just grab the power, which I've got out already. I've cabled up my SSD here. The SATA cable came in the motherboard kit, so that's cool. Asus supplies some SATA cables. That's not plugged into the motherboard yet. And obviously got the power there from the Corsair. I've got another set of cables here for these, and hopefully these will just tuck in. I tend to leave the top one. Just check I've got this up the right way. Yeah. And we need to work from the bottom. Work from the bottom here. So yeah, it totally depends on the best routing. I don't have any plans to put an optical drive in this machine. I have an optical drive in my gaming machine, which I barely ever use, and to be honest, it's just a good idea to try and get away from optical drives. In the world of downloads and stuff, I can't remember the last time I bought software on CD or DVD even and needed to actually use the DVDs. I did actually buy a box copy of GTA 5, which came with the DVDs, and but I couldn't install it in there. I had to download it from Rockstar anyway. So, you know, so let's just tuck this cable in here. This will tidy away neatly behind there. Now, I do this because you'll often find that you maybe want one of these, but the cables tend to be easier to organise if you've just got this one top one, and that basically means there's less there. It's not so tidy, but you're not going to see it because I tuck it down under here and you're good to go. Also, if I needed to temporarily put a drive in, I could just pick this up, plonk the drive on the top, copy stuff off of it. Now what have we got down here? Yes, and this is the fan cable that doesn't quite route properly. This one's short enough, long enough should I say, but this braided one's not quite long enough. But that's going to tuck behind the drive bay anyway, so you're not going to see that. You can see I've tidied up the cables here, and all this. This is the trouble. I've got the 3 drives over here, and I've got the 1 drive here, and of course I needed to have 2 SATA power connectors, which basically means I've got 3 spare SATA power cables just tucked under here. But this gap behind the motherboard tray is big enough to get a power cable in, so that's fine. So this should all be good. These power cables are the worst ones, and I've just doubled them behind here so that they'll tuck in and they've got a bit of flex on them, so they'll just push back. And like I say, this gap here is fantastic for tidying your cables away. I'm really pleased with this case, really pleased. Right, we've got to do SATA cables now. Let's just have a look at the front again. So, I might. Okay, well that's actually come out the wrong way. So I've got 4 drives, and I'm going to use the first 4 ports on the motherboard, which are along here. There is another set of ports up here, and what else do we have? There's SATA Express here. So yeah, I'm going to use those ports. Let's tuck that away. This one is the start. Okay, right, sorry about that. I need to find where the cable came through now. I want this one, because this is going to be my boot drive, to be 0. The others I'll cable up at some point in the future. And this is SATA 6G, 7 and 8, 3 and 4, 1 and 2. So really it should be up here. But that's actually quite cool. Let's do that, because it'll mean there's less cable mess. There's enough room for that cable through there. And that just clips in there, so that's cool. Okay, right. Now, I've noticed one problem, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to fix it, is that the top PCI slot, which is the one I need to use for my graphics card, is really, really close to the heatsink. So I'm going to get my GPU out of the box now and see if it's going to fit before I do anything else. Right then, so this is my video card. It's an MSI NVIDIA GTX 970. I bought this card, excuse the noise, for a couple of reasons. One is I wanted... Let me start again. Slight overkill for this machine because it's mainly going to be used for editing. However, if any of your video editing or rendering workflow uses GPU, it's obviously sensible to have a pretty decent GPU. Also, the processor that I've got in here, the 5820K, doesn't have onboard video, right? So I needed to get a video card. This is MSI GTX 970. I bought this one for a couple of reasons. One, I like MSI. They always make good cards. I've never had any problems, touch wood, with their cards. And secondly, it was one of the few I could find with a very similar cooler design to the reference, which basically means it'll probably run a little bit hot, but all the heat, all the hot air is actually blown out of the back of the case here. Out of the back of the case through these holes here. Now, the reason that's a good thing in my case is because there's a lot of stuff and there's going to be a lot of heat inside the case, and because I'm not water cooling anything, I personally prefer to have the heat going out of the back of the case. It works really well for me. I don't think this video card's going to be taxed too heavily, so it's not going to run too hot or too noisy. You can still get some, this is in the UK, I'm not sure about the US. In the UK you can still get some video cards that have the traditional NVIDIA kind of metal cooler design, but they're 980s. The 970 is such a fantastic price point that even though I was trying to do this on a budget, I wanted to fit something half decent in. So yeah, GTX 970 should be a really good card. It's a bit overkill for this machine, but it's gonna do what I want, and it's gonna future-proof the machine basically. So that's why I bought it. Fit into my budget. MSI, like MSI, wanted the reference cooler, so there we go. There's not too much complicated stuff about the card, and as you can see, I haven't offered it up there yet to see if it fits. So we're going to do that now. I've put my anti-static strap on again. We are going to need to take some of these out. I'm not sure which ones. So, these thumb screws are always don't really tighten these cases when you buy the case for shipping. So obviously the GPU takes up two slots. So I need to take 2 back plates. They're nice and white back plates, traditional fractal design colours. I think it's these two. It might be the top one. We'll see in a minute. Okay. Actually, I really ought to have the case down on its side because it makes it easier. But you're not going to be able to see anything, so I'll try and do it like this, and I'll at least offer the card up. Now the card comes with, as long as I don't smack it too hard, comes with covers over all the ports. This particular card's got 1 DVI, 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI. And obviously there's a protective connectors over the SLI. I'm not going to be using that. And obviously a protective connector over the PCI X port. Right, now let's see if this is going to fit in here. Right. Yeah, no problem, and that's really good because there's plenty of clearance as far as I can tell from the heatsink. So we're trying to attach this now. You can't see these. Let me just zoom in slightly. The PCI Express ports on this motherboard have a double click down thing, so to install the drive you just need to push that down, not the drive, the card, and then you slot the card into the back and get the back plates lined up, and then make sure it's in slot properly. He says I can't see very much. In slot properly. Just push it home. There we go. And yeah, there's a good finger width between the heatsink and the card, which is really nice. And then obviously we need to tighten the thumb screws back down so that it doesn't flap about in the case. Oh, I can't achieve that. Hang on a minute. Let me just push the card from the end there. Now sometimes these, if you have lots of cards like this one should be fine, it's not too heavy, and obviously with the plastic cooler should be good. Can get a little bit of sag. This one's pretty good, and that goes a lot back to my philosophy of buying MSI because I'm a big fan. I've never had any problems with their cards, touch wood, in the past. So there we go. So that's nice. And the other nice thing about this card is it's relatively short, so it will fit into most cases, and some longer cards will interfere with these drive bays here. But obviously this one won't, which is really good. So it'll fit in a lot of different types, size cases. And also the other nice thing for me here is that basically I've got airflow coming across here, all the way across, straight across the card, and it's completely unrestricted airflow all the way across here, and then okay, that's going across the CPU and out the back. So I should be able to keep obviously the cooler in here, and obviously airflow straight from the front. There's nothing stopping it, so that should get a really nice airflow through this case. I've obviously got another fan here, which is behind these hard drives. These will get quite warm. That will blow air straight across here, and hopefully shouldn't heat the motherboard, the graphics card up too much. Okay, and while we're here, we could do the power for this. Make another gap. Just need this through here. Got that. Obviously, this gap here, where this grommet is for the motherboard, does end up taking a lot of cables because it's right by the power. But there's plenty of room there. Another nice thing about the Define R5. Now then, I'm going to need to undo the Velcro on the back here and mess up my cable routing. And then this cable is going to be the only one I think that comes through here. Now the one thing that we need to do is, I don't know whether you can see, but the SATA ports are right under the GPU, which is not unusual. And actually, no, they're not. The SATA Express port's under there, right? So actually I can use some of these SATA ports down here. One of the things I know is if you've got an SLI, you often end up overlapping the SATA port. So this board is really quite nicely designed. And then we've got the PCI power. Now this needs one 8-pin, one 6-pin. Basically, these cables that come from the Corsair power supplies have two 6s, and then you basically connect a 2 on the side to make an 8 where you need it. They do clip together, kinda. So there's, yeah, we'll put the, oh no, actually I don't need an 8 and 6, I need 2 6s. Cool, okay, brilliant. I need to get them the right way up though. So, square here, so there's 1 6 there, and 1 6, just check I've got the right pins, 1 6 there, brilliant. Those will tuck down there, and we can feed cables back. That doesn't make for a very nice cable route, not that it matters too much. Like I say, there's no window on this case, so it doesn't matter. What I think I'll do is I'll take that underneath there like that. Just keep it a bit tidy. Keep that in there, and then that'll pull all those back, and I can tidy that up behind. These will tuck underneath like that. So yeah, there we go. So that's good because we've got the GPU in it as well now, which is really cool. Pretty much all I've got to do now is run the SATA cables for all the other hard drives. They've all got power. All the chassis fans or case fans are connected to the motherboard. The CPU heatsink fan is connected to the motherboard. I've got all the front panel connectors plugged in. GPU's done. So that's about it. So I'm just going to run the SATA cables, and then I will try and boot it up and see what happens. That could be a bit of an adventure. Right. Okay. Moment of truth. So I've zoomed right out. So and I've got the new PC plugged into my TV behind here because it's easier to reach and keep an angle for the camera. Sorry, you can see the rest of the mess in my room, but never mind. So we should see the picture come up on the TV and the machine's here. And I want to show you a couple of things first, but we're going to first power it up and see if it works. So moment of truth, I've not tried this, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously there's no OS or anything, so we should just basically go to the BIOS, hopefully. Got a keyboard plugged in. We are connected to the mains. I'm just going to switch on that power supply on the back. And we've got some LEDs come on, so that's good. And moment of truth. Excuse me being in the way. Okay. Cool. Everything's going. Everything's booted up. Now, Nothing's coming up on the screen, but that mightn't be normal. Give it a sec. There we go. BIOS has come up. Press Del to hit the BIOS. Right, we'll go straight into the BIOS. Now, I want to show you a quick trick I've learned that involves toilet paper. Now, you might think I'm being a bit funny here, but one of the things I'm never too sure about is fan direction. I'm sure it's really clear on the fans themselves which way they blow. However, if you're in any doubt at all, get a tiny strip of loo roll and hold it in front of the fan. And that one's the wrong way round. That one there is probably the right way round. The key one are these, right? Okay, so the CPU one is drawing air in across the heatsink, okay? And that one is blowing air out the back, okay? So the only one that seems a bit iffy is this one. And actually it's blowing in because I can get the kitchen towel, the loo roll right up close to it, and so it is blowing in. And yeah, I can feel it, but it's running really slow, that's why you can't see anything. Obviously the CPU one is definitely blowing in because we can see that's going to catch there. Right, okay, so all of the fans are running the right way. So, brilliant. So that's it. I'll probably sum up in a minute with some footage from the actual PC itself when I get a chance to have a look at the Asus control stuff, and we'll have a look at the processor and whatnot as well. But for the time being, that's the build done. All the cables are wired up, everything's in the machine, and it boots and it comes to the BIOS. Let's just see if we can run the setup. I'm not sure what you can see without me being in the way. Let me block some of the light off as well. So there we go, we've gone into the UEFI BIOS. I can see, actually, let me just move this a little bit and you can see what I can see. So, and we'll zoom in. Sorry about the shakes. So, this is the BIOS. So we can see the CPU fan spinning. We've got chassis fan 2, chassis fan 4 and chassis fan 3, so that ties up to what we've got. The CPU temperature's at 30, which is brilliant. And up in the top left there we can see it's detected 5820K, 3.3. Motherboard temperature is 26. It's detected all the hard drives. What else has it got? We've got, and those are the on the right hand side, that's just the tuning stuff for the Asus motherboard. So everything's looking good. CPU fan is running quite quickly, which is exactly what we expect. And to be honest, it sounds pretty quiet. I reckon once we get the side on, it's going to be good. And the last thing I guess we can see over there on the left hand side is it's detected all the RAM as well. Cool. Okay, it has no idea what day it is, but never mind. Right, let's just plonk this back. Zoom out again. Oh, a bit of the podcast I'm watching there. Okay, cool. Right. So all I need to do now is install Windows, get it running, and then I can show you guys bits and pieces from the desktop and how it's running. So I hope this has been useful, and I found it really good fun. I'm sorry the last bit wasn't live stream, but it was so bits and pieces piecemeal that it just seemed daft to try and do it on a stream, and it's basically taken me all day on a Saturday. Apart from some nice time with my partner and some lunch and what have you, it's taken all day to get it finished off. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. We need to keep, obviously, the key things when we're testing a system are to make sure that the CPU temperature doesn't go up too high. I can't remember what the ceiling on this CPU is, and I'll look that up before I install Windows on it. and to make sure all the fans are basically blowing in the right direction. We don't want to have a lot of faffing about with the fans drawing air out when they should be blowing air in. Actually, that's one thing we could quickly try as well to let a bit more air in. Let's just get our loo roll and check. Yeah, that's definitely blowing in, so that's brilliant. Okay, and that one's blowing in faster than the bottom one. Okay, cool. So that's really good. Brilliant. Cheers. Right, guys, this is the last tiny bit of my PC build. I just wanted to show you a couple of tools that I always install when I first build a PC, just to make sure everything's right. First one you can see on the desktop at the moment is called Core Temp, and if I just bring up my IE window, this is the URL to download it. I'll make sure that's included in the description below so you can go and download it. It's a freeware tool, and basically what it does is it lets you monitor the temperature of every core in your system. So, so you can see here, it's a really straightforward tool. You just run it up, install it. Gives you all your cores here, current temperature, and then a minute and max temperatures and the load. And I've tested this machine. My testing is pretty basic. I did a render of a video and tested this. My maximum temperature is 94. The max I ever reached was 60, and that was running all cores 100%, doing a video render. So that's perfectly fine, and shows me that my cooler's working really well. I would test something, but I haven't got anything to run to show you the temperature going up. But yeah, so it's a nice little tool. You can do it in mini mode as well, so you can have that running, and you can also have it as an icon in the taskbar, so you can see which all the cores are running at. So it's a really nice tool. Like I say, it's free as well, which is all good. And the other thing I always install is this dude here, Virtual Clone Drive. One of the things I was saying was that I didn't put a optical drive in this machine. This tool is freeware. Let me just show you the link here, and I'll put this in the description as well. Basically, this is a freeware tool too, and it allows you to mount an ISO to make it look like a DVD. And so that's what I do. If ever I need to install a CD on here, then or a DVD on here, I will just make an ISO of it on another machine, and then copy the ISO on and load it up with Virtual Clone Drive. The one problem that I've had that I wanted to show you that I can't is the Asus AI Suite. Now, for some reason, and I'm still troubleshooting that, I can't get it to install. I've read a few posts on forums saying that people are also having similar problems, and that the best way to do it is to go back to the original CD. But of course, I put the CD with all the drivers and whatnot away, so I need to get that out again, mount it up using Virtual Clone Drive, and try and install the software from there. The other thing I also wanted to point out was that with the Asus motherboard, you do get all the drivers. What I did was I went to their website and I downloaded everything. Let me just close Explorer here. And one thing you need to do is go into Device Manager and try and get rid of all the unknown devices. Now, this is the only one I can't fix, and I believe that's actually to do with Asus's AI Suite, from what I can tell from searching. If you do get some of these devices and they're unknown and you can't really work out which drivers you actually need to install, if you right click on here and go to Properties and go to Details, this line here and this line will tell you what the hardware ID is. And what you can do is you can take this second part, PNP0A0A, and search for it on the internet, and you will usually get some clues as to which driver you need to install. The key ones I had to install from the Asus site were the chipset drivers and all the USB drivers, because there's lots of different USB chipsets on the motherboard, and so you need to install ones for USB 2, ones for USB 3. Once I'd done most of that, most of these went away, and like I say, I've got this one outstanding one which I believe is something to do with the BIOS interface for the AI suite that Asus supply. So I need to try and get the Asus kind of utilities installed to see if that one goes away. Anyway, I hope my PC build videos were useful. This was good fun for me. I really enjoyed live streaming the first couple of build parts. The third part is just edited together because it did take me quite a while to kind of get all the cabling managed, and obviously I had to then install Windows 7 and download all the drivers and faff around, so it's taken me a while to get the machine up and running, but I'm really pleased with it. I hope the video's useful. If you've got any questions or anything about any of the components I've used, any of the software, or anything else about the build, then please let me know in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back again soon. Cheers.